Hey, welcome to the Explainer. So here's a question for you. Have you ever wondered if buying a single huge stock like Apple is basically the same as investing in the entire market? Well, today we're going to break down the statistical risk to find out. So let's just dive right in. You might think, hey, Apple's a monster company. It's got to be as stable as the market itself, right? But is that really true? That's the big question we're tackling in this Explainer. All right, to really get to the bottom of this, we're going to open up the toolkit of a professional risk manager. And you know what the first step always is? It's super simple. You just have to look at the data. Okay, first tool up is the scatter plot. Now, don't let the name intimidate you. It's basically just a graph that lets us see, with our own eyes, how Apple and the S&P 500 dance together. Do they move in sync? Do they go their own ways? This picture tells us a lot right off the bat. But here's the real magic of a scatter plot. You're not just looking for the trend. You're hunting for the rebels, the outliers. Those are the little dots that are way off on their own. They're the wild cards, the moments that remind us that no matter how predictable things seem, the market always has a few surprises up its sleeve. Okay, tool number 2, the histogram. Think of this one like taking a poll of all the weekly returns. It shows us which outcomes happen a lot and which ones are rare. It helps us see the shape of the data. Is it a nice, predictable bell curve, or is something a little weirder going on under the surface? So we've seen the data, but here's the thing. Just looking at the average is like only reading the headline of a news story. You miss all the important details. To really get what risk is all about, we have to dig way deeper. And to do that, we bring in two big ideas, skewness and kurtosis. Now, skewness just tells us if the surprises are more likely to be good ones or bad ones. But kurtosis, that's the one we really care about. It tells us about the probability of the really extreme stuff, the big wins and the big losses. And this is absolutely crucial. You see, risk managers are obsessed with kurtosis. Why? Because that's where the action is. It's in the tails of the data, the extreme outcomes, where fortunes are made and lost. And this chart, this just lays it out perfectly. That blue line, that's your nice, normal world. But the green one, that has fat tails. And look what that means. A much, much higher chance of those crazy outlier events happening, both good and bad. Okay, so we've got a feel for the shape of the data. But how do we actually put a number on it? How can we measure just how strong the connection between Apple and the market really is? For that, we have the perfect tool, the correlation coefficient. It's amazing, really. It takes all that complexity we saw in the scatter plot and boils it down to one single powerful number. And the scale couldn't be simpler. +1, they're basically dance partners in perfect sync. -1, they're doing the exact opposite. And 0, well, there's just no linear connection. They're ignoring each other completely. All right, now for the main event. It's time to bring all these ideas together. We're going to pull out the big guns, a technique called linear regression, to calculate the ultimate measure of a stock's market risk. We're talking about beta. So what on earth is linear regression? Think of it this way. It's a statistical method that draws the best possible straight line right through the middle of all those dots on our scatter plot. It finds the main trend. And the most important part of that line, it's the slope. And in the world of finance, that slope has a famous name, beta. Beta tells you, on average, how much a stock zigs when the market zags. If a stock has a beta of 2, it's basically twice as volatile as the market. A beta of 0.5, half as volatile. Simple as that. Okay, so we took 2 years of weekly data for Apple and the S&P 500. We ran the numbers, and what did we find? A beta of 1.02. Wow. That is incredibly close to 1. So, 1.02. Case closed, right? Apple is basically the same as the market. We can all go home. Well, not so fast. And that brings us to maybe the single most important question in this entire explainer. Does this one number, this 1.02, really tell us the whole story? The answer is a huge, resounding no. See, here's the catch. Beta is just an average. It's the slope of that best fit line, but it's blind to everything that doesn't fit on that line. It totally ignores those wild outliers, those days where the stock went rogue. And that right there is where the real risk is hiding. And this table, man, it just drives the point home. These are real weeks from our data. Look at this. 1 week, Apple just explodes, up 15%, while the market just kind of shuffled along. Then another week, Apple gets hammered, down 7.5% when the market was only down 2.5%. These are massive differences that beta just smooths over. So, after all this statistical sleuthing, what did we find? What's the real truth hiding behind all these numbers? The bottom line is this: even with a beta that's practically 1, investing in Apple is absolutely not the same as investing in the S&P 500. The individual risk of one company, with all its unique triumphs and disasters, is a completely different beast than the diversified risk of holding 500 stocks. So, the big lesson here is that if you really want to understand risk, you can't just stop at one number. You have to dig deeper. You have to look at the whole picture, the entire distribution. And most importantly, you have to respect those outliers, those fat tails, because that's where the real story is. So, we'll leave you with this to think about. Now that you know the difference between a simple average and the whole messy truth, what hidden risks, what potential outliers might be lurking just beneath the surface in your own investments?